What's your greatest fear?
Being clean. That is probably my greatest fear. I've never really been able to deal with things without taking drugs or using some kind of substance to get through the day.
Well, back down the hole that I'd ended up in, and that's a place I don't want to be back.
One of my kids going down the same road I did.
I think it's to end up on my own again. Isolation.
My greatest fear is to be, I suppose, abandoned by everybody. When I relapsed, you know, my children said to me that, "That's it now, Mum, you're on the last chance saloon. If you do it again, we're going to wash our hands of you."
And my story was, basically, I was alcoholic on drugs, and I was in a bad place, using every day with crack and drink. And then I obviously nearly lost the missus, my kids, everything.
I was living at a friend's house. I wasn't working, and I'd stopped doing the usual things that I used to like doing, from swimming, cycling, etc., and drinking and going to the pub instead. I needed to come to terms with the alcohol abuse, because it was definitely, without a shadow of a doubt, damaging my health.
My wife threw me out because of my drinking. I went into a deep depression. I lived in a flat on my own. I was really struggling to cope. To me, drinking was just a means of getting me out of the flat, out of that situation.
A few years ago I lost my mum. That started me drinking quite heavily. Slowly progressed, and a friend of mine, a close family friend, came round to my house one day and found me surrounded by bottles of wine, and I just broke down and I knew I needed help.
I started taking gear when I was 15. I've been street homeless for 3 years. I've done things for money that most girls in addiction do. I've lost my children, stole off my family, just basically like never been able to get it together.
I was on a meth script for 30 years, 28 years. Never thought I'd get off it. You know what I mean? I thought I'd been on a script in and out of the service for 28 years. Thought I'd be there all the time, you know.
For a couple of years, I had been drinking more and more on the quiet, on the back of I wasn't happy in my job. I felt like I was a failure. I was going downhill. I thought that it was something that I had to deal with, so instead of talking to anybody and getting any help, I used to have another drink and another drink and another drink.
It was an uncomfortable breath of fresh air, I think would be a good way of describing it.
Hard work. I wanted to leave every other day.
Dealing with things that you don't want to deal with. And it's not easy, it's hard, but it's worth it in the long run.
I found it hard. Sometimes I've wanted to give up, but I know it's been good for me, and it's made me think about things with a clearer head and focus on where I want to be.
I found it very hard work. It's hard to have someone pick your faults out and, you know, to strip you down, basically. It definitely doesn't feel easy at the time, but I just kept having to tell myself that I was definitely doing the right thing, and I was getting the help from the right people.
I think in the beginning, you come in and you think it's just going to be a bit like therapy. I don't think you really anticipate what you're going to do. I struggled with it massively, me. Again, it's feelings and like looking back on stuff, and then I wanted to leave because it gets a bit tough. But for me, all in all, towards the end, Deep's probably the best thing I ever did.
Because I came in here acting like I would on the street. I would argue like mad with Steve, wouldn't listen to anything. He used to walk out and think he doesn't know what he's talking about. You know what I mean? But he did. You know, I soon realised that.
3 days a week, it's like it's like having another family. Angela and Steve are like amazing people, and without them I don't know where I'd be now.
My turnaround on here, I had 6 weeks of arguing with this guy, you know what I mean? And some of them were You know, some of the things I said were out of order, you know, in my eyes. And then he shared something with me. And I thought, hold on a minute, he doesn't have to do that. He said, I'm not here to hurt you. I'm here to help you.
The significant part of deep for me was basically starting it. Because when I started pre-deep, I didn't think I'd be doing it. I thought basically, yeah, I'll do the 6 weeks of pre-deep. And I thought I wouldn't do it. I just didn't think I would get to the end.
Walking through the door on the first day, telling myself that nobody's going to bite. Didn't know what exactly it was going to be about. I just, for whatever reason, I just felt I knew I was doing the right thing by asking to come on board the programme.
I think, well, basically, I thought I'd just end up back in the drink and back in the drugs. The reason for that was actually, like, I would say, facing my fears and letting go.
It changed me as a person, my attitude about life. I used to think that everything and everyone was against me, and I had to defend myself against it. And I'd be angry, I'd be unapproachable, and if I had a drink, I'd be even worse. And it was never my fault. It was always hard luck, you know, tough for me. It's hard being me. They stripped me down, and I learned that a lot of it was in myself. It was my coping mechanism.
Feedback of the group is really important, I find. I've learned not to dwell on things too much and make things bigger than what they are, which I tend to do. Well, I have tended to do a lot.
My personal experience was my relapse, because I relapsed on deep. I was living in a homeless hostel and I'd just come off my methadone, and then I ended up picking up, I think I was about 5-6 weeks in when I picked up, and then I had to sit in a room on my own for a week. But they give me a relapse booklet, I'd say, and that really made me look at stuff. And that time on my own, I'd say, was probably when I did most of like my reflecting and thinking.
I dug my own grave in here for a bit, and you know, but I blamed them. After a bit, I realised that if I wanted to change, I better get, you know what I mean, I wanted to help me change, I better get listening, you know what I mean, I better get stuck in, because I'm not like 5 weeks on it and I've done nothing. I did what I had to do, you know what I mean, you know, and I enjoyed it on here.
They bring you to accept and understand yourself, because there's lots of things that you keep buried down, right low down, and you don't let them surface because you don't want to face them or you don't want to think about them.
It's an important piece of work for you.
Probably my life story. I've had a few things in my life that's happened that I don't think I've dealt with, and I've just pushed them away. When I was 20, 21, my boyfriend hung himself, and he did it in front of my daughter. So that has been a hard one for me to deal with. Sorry. Yeah. That and then losing my mum obviously have been major parts in my life.
My life story, I would say, and actually writing it all down and facing it all, it was very like hard, but obviously it helps you. The most important was dealing with my son's death, because all my life I was only like 21 when he died, and from there that's when I really just hit rock bottom basically. And then my dad dying as well, that was a big thing, because obviously I said goodbye to him a week before, and I was meant to be the other day he died, but I never turned up. I was too busy lying somewhere, drunk.
The most important thing was that it gave me the realisation that the drinking stemmed from anger with regards to past problems I'd had, family-wise. And that was the root of the problem, and it didn't matter. It made me realise that the whole point of deep was that it was about me and being able to be back in control of my life.
You get a letter from somebody, and I chose my daughter for her to write her true feelings down to me, and I had to read it out. It shocked me and hurt me, but at the same time, I'm glad that she had the chance to say what she said and I had the chance to read it. She just felt that I didn't love her, and she felt that I'd left her out and I didn't love her as much as the other two.
I read my letter from my daughter, well, my son and my daughter yesterday in group. They wrote a joint letter. Yeah, my son works away, so he's had a bit of input on it. He wanted to leave home and that, but he couldn't leave me. I was his mum. And my daughter felt like she couldn't approach me with anything, and that hurt. They ended it with, you know, how proud of me they are, and I should be proud of myself. So, sorry. Yeah. I tend to not really think about myself. That's what I've got to really focus on, you know, put yourself first sometimes.
I can remember writing my life story, and that's obviously leading up to it, I relapsed. I felt instantly better. I felt like I put everything into my life story though. Things I hadn't spoke about in group. I talk about this stuff, yeah, and people like look at me and go, I can't believe you speak about that stuff, but for me, it's like I were a working girl. Do you know, I was street homeless. I mean, I'm talking, I was living in a multi-storey car park, eating up with puddle water, selling drugs, doing whatever. So when I seen other people like getting upset for me, you start thinking, well God, yeah, that did happen to me, that did, you know, that was me. And it's like closure on it really. You can sort of go, well, you know what, I've dealt with it, I've talked about it, and it's a relief, I think, more than anything.
My life story was big for me, because I was going to leave a lot out, to be honest with you. And I said to Ange, should I leave stuff out? She went, what, the stuff you want to leave out, put in. He would go on, I'd talk about my mum a lot in there because she's passed away, and have you been to the grave? You know, and he kept going on about it. I used to be just shut up, you know, I'll go on and read it. I did go in the end, you know what I mean? I just went. He said it'll make you, I remember he saying it'll make you feel better. And he said, how can going to a grave make you feel better? But it did. And that helped me a hell of a lot, you know what I mean? Because I was grateful for that.
I think the life story, because you go back and when you have a week to write it, so when you're thinking about it and you're making your notes, things pop up in your head. Sometimes not things that you know that you've buried because you don't want to think about them, especially if you've had bad experiences, you know, when you're younger, etc. So I think it was very important because it brought a lot of things to the surface that I then had to deal with. That's
a good thing about it, you know, you go in that room and you get to trust the people in that room, and you become close friends like that. So you don't mind. You know, I didn't mind, you know what I mean, that talking. But you leave it, you know what I mean, so you get it out, you know, instead of bottling it up all the time. And, you know, you still think about things, but you learn to deal with them.
The benefits, without a shadow of a doubt, have got to be the health issues. I needed help to sort myself out before that, because quite frankly, you know, it could have been too late.
Obviously my health, spending more quality time with my family, my new grandson.
The benefits for me is basically I'm not drinking anymore, I'm not taking crack anymore, I'm not like getting arrested, going to jail, and the benefits for my family, I'm getting my family back as well.
For me personally, the benefits are I get to look at my stuff. You know, everyone gets to look at their stuff when they're on here. I'm not now out committing crime. I'm not out taking up a cell in jail. Taxpayers having to do all that for me. And it makes me want to help others, so it makes you want to give back.
I've got a lot going for me, and I feel very humble, and I feel at peace with myself.
I'd just like to say, no matter how dark and depressing it gets, there is a way out of everything. even though you might not think it at the time.
Most important thing I've learned to deal with my emotions.
That drinking isn't the answer.
There's absolutely nothing wrong in asking for help when you feel that you need it.
I've learnt my self-worth, that I am worth something.
So listen.
And I think it gives you a good foundation to get out there and get on with your life.
You know what I mean? I was sad when it ended, if I'm being honest. You know, when I read my goodbye letter out, if you would have said to me, do you want to do another few weeks, I would have.
I would like to thank my daughter Danielle and my son James, and most of all I'd like to thank Horizon.
I'd like to thank Steve, Angie obviously. I'd like to thank my girlfriend, because obviously she's been through a lot.
Well, I'd like to thank the team at Horizon in the first place, where I originally asked for help, Sarah Hall, Christine, etc. All the rest that were on the group with me as well. All the friends that are out there that let me go on my misguided way for a short while.
My children, for what they've done to help me, and I'd like to thank Karen, my partner, who's stuck by me and helped me along the way.
Just like to say thank you to Steve, Ange, Craig, Joe for helping me get through deep. I'd like to thank my peers, the people that obviously helped and sat with me on my group.
I will thank Steve and Ange, Craig and Darren. My biggest thank you is probably to JFH, kids for always being there, you know, definitely my kids.
My closest bond is with Becca, who I love dearly.
And that's it really, just thanks to everyone that stood by me and helped me.
Okay.
Yeah.
One more thing.
Go on.
Big smile.
I don't like all this.
And they'll come true. Impossible not to do. Possible not to do.